Hey, I'm just going to continue with the lesson on factorising quadratics. Last time you were just factorising some simple ones. We're going to just continue with some slightly trickier ones with negative numbers. Just going to outline the method, make it obvious and what you should be doing in each step. So the first thing is your quadratic will have three terms. An x squared term, an x term and a number on the end. And we are using the fact that the number in front of the x will always be the sum. That's what they need to add up to. And a number on the end is the product. Okay, because we're trying to split this up. Okay, we're trying to split this term up into two separate terms. And the only way to do that is if they add up to that term, but they also got a product of the number on the end. Then we split the x term using part 1. So once we know the sum, once we know the product, we can try different numbers out until we get the two numbers that work, and then split that x term. And then you factorize the first two terms, and then factorize the last two terms, but do them separately. And you get two like single bracket expansions. And once you've done that, you can write them as double brackets. Okay, so let's see what the trickier ones are going to look like today. X squared minus 7x plus 12. And again, following the steps from above, that's what they need to add up to. And that's what the product needs to be. So we're looking for two numbers which add up to give you negative 7, but their product is a positive 12. Two numbers which add together to give negative 7, but times together to give a positive 12. Okay, if two numbers times together to give you a positive, you should know they have to be the same sign. So there's no point trying something like 1 and 12, because 1 times 12 does give you 12, but they definitely don't add up to give you negative 7. So you need to try some negative numbers. So let's try, say, negative 2 and negative 6. See what that would be. Negative 2 times negative 6 does give me plus 12. If you change that to a plus, it wouldn't give you minus 7. We need it to be minus 7. But if you try minus 3 and minus 4, gives you the plus 12. Change that to add, and that gives you the minus 7. So minus 3 and minus 4 worked. That is what this term splits up into. Then we follow step 2, split the x term. So let's do that. We've got x squared, split it up into a minus 3x and a minus 4x with a plus 12 on the outside. And then we're on to step 3. Factorize the first two terms and last two terms separately. So you kind of split this into two separate things. First two terms, last two terms, and factorize them separately. It'll be very good now if you can actually get into the habit of doing this bit in your head without writing the extra line of workings. So x squared minus 3x, the common factor is x, brackets x minus 3. In this one, it's really important that if you've got a negative at the start there, I think I did this last lesson, mathematicians tend to take that negative out as a common factor as well as other things. So no matter what, because that's a negative there, I'm going to write the negative there. And then what would the common factor be between 4x and 12? It should be 4. So that's what I'm going to take out as a common factor. What would go inside the bracket? It'd have to be an x. Minus 4 times x gives you the minus 4x. But what would go in the other bracket? Minus 4 times what gives you 12? It would have to be minus 3. These brackets need to match up. That's how you know you've done it right. If they don't match up, you can't do the last step. Because these both need to be that second bracket when you expand them and do it in reverse. So the x minus 3 is the second bracket, and then these numbers left over are in the first bracket, and then all of those steps now work backwards perfectly, and that would be it. Okay, so there's a few things you know if you're doing it right or wrong. Product and sum stuff you need to write down, but also when you do factorize you should get the same brackets. Let's go on to the last example, e.g. number 4. So we've got x squared minus x minus 30, and again we're looking for highlighting the product and the sum. Problem is there's not an actual number in front of this. Well, you don't have to write it down, but I'm going to for this. That's a -1. So the sum needs to be -1 and the product needs to be -30. So sum is -1, product is -30. And the only thing I can give you on advice for this is always focus on the product first. Numbers which times together to give -30. If you've got two numbers which times together to give a negative, they have to be different signs. So, for example, let's pick 3 and -10. They times together to give you -30, but 3 plus -10 doesn't give you -1. So that doesn't work. What about 6 and -5? What about that one? 6 times -5 does give you -30, but if you add them, it gives it +1. So we're very close. All you have to do is swap these around, -6 and a +5 like that. -6 plus 5 will give you the -1. So that one is the pair that would work. There's only ever one pair that works. Okay, second step, if I remind you from above, is split the x term up. So we are going to rewrite this as x squared minus 6x plus a 5x minus 30, like so. And then third step is factorize the first two terms and factorize the last two terms. So you split this up into first two and last two. First off, get into the habit of trying to do this bit in your head now. X brackets x minus 6. This time we've got a plus, which is good news. Plus. What else would be the common factor? 5 by the looks of it. And what would go in the bracket? X minus 6. And these match up. They have to match up. Otherwise I've done something wrong. And then the fourth step, write as double brackets. So write this as double brackets. X minus 6 is the second bracket. X plus 5 is the first. And that would be it. And these steps work perfectly backwards. So you can always check your answer. So that's pretty much it. The only exam tip I am going to give you is you need to work out or write out the products first and then check the sums like I've been doing there. Okay, so when doing this, write out the products first and then check the sum. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so I'd like you guys to try some questions from the book now. So if you find, let me think about this. What do we want to do? Exercise 6-star and exercise, actually I'll give you the choice. 6 or 6-star, 7 or 7-star. So you're either going to do 6 or 6-star, and then you're going to either do 7 or 7-star, if that makes sense. And that is on page 318 And that's on page 319. Do all of your workings in your book. Working's the key thing with this. Check your answers with the ones in the textbook, and then make sure you upload pictures of your classwork to class notebook so I can make sure you were doing it correctly. If you've got any questions about any of this factorising stuff, please post them in the Teams chat. Thank you very much.